So recently my dad's been talking to my mom and saying that I'm addicted to games, and he's even jokingly threatened to put me into Gamers Anonymous. Yeah, so and he goes drinking with my uncles and whatnot. That's all right, but for me, I'm addicted to games, so it's obviously killing my lifestyle and making me go down a dark path. I can stop whenever I want to, all right? It's not a problem. It's dead, all right? That's fine. Lucky for me, I still have my PSP. That's dead too. All right, that's okay, because I still have my Switch. All right, you know what? I got to get better at charging my things. That one's dead too. I guess I have no other choice. I have to. So in order to explain why I decided to get this, I'm going to go over the history of me and games and having consoles. This is going to be a bit longer of a video, but that's why I'm calling it Shedding Some Light, because I'm mainly telling you guys a little bit more about me and my history with games, and in the end I'm going to explain why I decided to buy this, and I'm going to talk about who I'm suggesting it to. So I have 3 older brothers, and growing up we always had games in the house. Mainly they played games like Need for Speed and Grand Theft Auto and games like those, while I always preferred more adventurous games. We didn't have a lot of them though. However, growing up, I always considered it the family console. We had our own Game Boy Colors, but I never really had a console for myself. Originally, we had a PS2 and a Nintendo 64, but since my dad is from Mexico, he actually has a house down there, we decided to take the 64 over there so we could just play it whenever we visited. The PS2 we kept here, but my brother broke it, and in the end, my mom decided to switch it out for a Dreamcast. I mean, if you know what the Dreamcast is, odds are you know that's a little bit of a downgrade, but I mean, a lot of people had a Dreamcast, so it's not like I'm not like saying that the Dreamcast was bad or anything. I'm just saying the PS2 was a juggernaut of its generation, and going to the Dreamcast is like going from, well, an Xbox 360 to pretty much a PS2. It wasn't until high school that I actually started getting my own consoles. My first ever console that I bought was actually the family's old Xbox 360, but that's because my brother had moved away with it, and after a while he needed money and didn't really want it, so I bought it from him. And I consider that mine now. I didn't consider it the family console anymore. The actual first console I bought brand new was a 3DS. Just the original 3DS. It was a few years after it had come out, so I wasn't new to the party or anything. I just finally got it. Around that time, I was also getting the older consoles, the NES, the Super NES, a GameCube I got. And once I was out of high school, 2015, I was actually getting new consoles. Around that time is when I actually traded my 3DS for a new 3DS XL. But at the same time, I still was collecting the older handhelds. I have a Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Advance SP, DS, DSi, and DS Lite. The only thing I don't have is the original 3DS, but considering I have a 3DS XL and I don't have any of the XL versions of the other DSs, I'm okay with that. I'm completely okay with that. In 2016 and 2017, those were the biggest years for getting new consoles and new games for me. In 2016, I was working as a valet parking cars for an emergency room. It wasn't really busy and I was a supervisor, but the regional manager just told me, whatever you got to do to pass the time, do it. It just makes it easier. So for the most part, I took comics, video games, and I was playing Pokemon Go because that had just released. And after a while, I had my 3DS XL, but I had like Animal Crossing on it, I had Mario Kart, games I had played constantly, and I wanted something new, something fresh. And although I did have Ocarina of Time for it, I beat it already, and I really didn't want to go buy a new game for this. I kind of was itching to get a new console. So in the end, what I got was a PS Vita. I just said in the beginning that I just bought this, so why am I buying another if I already had one? I used to have the white model, and I found some games for it. I had Tales of Hearts R, Freedom Wars, and I'm 100% sure I had another game. I just have no idea what it was. Around that time was the time where you could go to GameStop and find 5 games for the PS Vita, used and new, and I wasn't really big into the online stores, so for me, I didn't have a lot of places to find games, at least for the Vita. And in the end, I didn't get the use out of it that I wanted, and my friend really wanted it, so I sold it to him. Also, I was saving up and trying to upgrade my computer to be able to run VR. Later on that year, the HTC Vive would launch, and I bought it first day. Back then, I had a desktop computer instead of the laptop I have now. Of course, the next year was 2017, and we all know what launched that year. This was one of the greatest consoles I'd ever bought in brand new day one, except for the HTC Vive, and I enjoyed it every second. I had Zelda Breath of the Wild, I had 1-2 Switch, then I also had a few other games. I got Splatoon 2 once that launched and whatnot. Later on in the year though, my friend was actually talking to me and convinced me to try out Final Fantasy 15 and Overwatch on his PS4. I liked them. I especially liked Overwatch. So in the end, I was convinced and I got a PS4 Slim. With it, I got Final Fantasy 15, Overwatch, and Dark Souls 3 because my friend wanted to play with me. I really like my PS4. I actually think I'm not going to get an Xbox One just because I have a laptop, I have a PS4, and I have a Switch. Xbox One is not necessary for me. Also, in that year, I had gotten a Nintendo 64 from a used pawn shop. So now my Nintendo collection was up to the NES, SNES, 64, GameCube, and the Wii U. I did not have a Wii. It wasn't until this year, 2019, that I actually finally got a Wii, and now I have every single Nintendo console, or at least the base models. Besides that, though, in 2018, it was kind of slower for video games. Mainly I was focused on board games, and now I have like 42 different board games, and I really enjoy all of them, and I'm gonna make videos of what's in the box for all of them. It will take time. At the end of 2018 is where this story picks up for the PS Vita. So I had actually gotten a PSP at around the end of 2018, and I was having fun with it. I had a Japanese Gundam game for it, Toradora. I did have the Japanese game, but I did get a English mod for it. Luckily, the PSP is very computer accessible. So like you can just plug it in and immediately go through the files. I love that. It's really fun. I can mess with it a lot. And actually, at the beginning of 2019, this year, I modded it so that I could do some other stuff with it. And I'm not going to tell you how I did that, and I'm not going to tell you what I did. But I will tell you, I did find some other games for it, mainly along the series of The Legend of Heroes. I found Prophecy of the Moonlight Witch, Tear of Vermilion, and Song of the Ocean. I've played Prophecy of the Moonlight Witch, I've began Tear of Vermilion, and I haven't touched Song of the Ocean yet. But I loved this series. I loved it so much that I actually looked up more info on it. And for my Steam account, I actually got Trails in the Sky 1, 2, and 3. I'm halfway through 1, and I still need to play the other 2. But I kind of jumped the gun on some things sometimes, and I actually decided, you know what? I'm going to get Trails of Cold Steel 1, 2, and 3 for the PS4 as soon as they're available. Recently, they just came out with the Decisive Edition for the Trails of Cold Steel 1 for the PS4. It came with a soundtrack, a replica coin, and even a metal case with a pretty hefty instruction booklet. And I really enjoy the game. It's a fun, awesome game. I looked it up though, and originally it was for the PS Vita. And although that was tempting, I already own the game, so I'm not going to try and buy a PS Vita just for that. However, you know how the story goes, and I already bought a PS Vita. Did I buy a Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel for this? No, I did not. Not yet. I might. I'm really getting into the Legend of Heroes series. But why did I buy this PS Vita? Well, I was enjoying my other consoles, my PS4, my PSP, and they have a lot of different RPGs and JRPGs for them. The Switch and 3DS are good consoles, but when it comes to the JRPG scene, they're kind of lacking, especially the 3DS. The Switch is getting more support for it in the likes of, you know, not Bravely Default, what was it? That one, Octopath Traveler and Celeste. Was it Celeste? No, I don't think it was Celeste. The Switch is getting a lot of good RPGs and JRPGs on here. It has Skyrim, it has Dragon Quest Heroes, or not Dragon Quest Heroes, Dragon Quest Builders, that's it. It's even getting Dragon Quest, what is it, 14, 15, whatever the hell, 12, I don't know. It's getting new games all the time, but when it comes to it, PS4 and PSP and the PS Vita all have it beat. Like, they are RPG and JRPG juggernauts. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I got the PS Vita. Not to mention, when I had it before, I enjoyed it. It was a fun console. It looks alright, and honestly, if Sony had done it right, it could have been the Switch before the Switch. I heard that from a video before. I don't remember exactly which one, but it makes a lot of sense. It does do what the Switch does. It has a touch screen, it has motion controls. The only thing it doesn't have is the removable controls, but it does do the remote play. So as long as your PS4's access to the internet, you can turn it on and play from anywhere you are where there's internet. Yes, the Switch is more accessible in the sense that it is the console, so you play it wherever you want. And it also has two controllers right off the bat with the Joy-Cons. You just take them out and boom, you're playing two players. But in the end, I still like the PS Vita. I really enjoy it, and honestly, I looked up more games. I went to GameStop when I bought it, and, well, there were like 15 or 20 games for it. Then I went to another GameStop because I was in that area running errands, and I decided to just stop by, see what they had. And they had another 15 or 20 games, but different ones. So compared to back then when I had it before, games are becoming more accessible for the Vita because people are selling them, because people are giving up on it. And although that sucks for them, it's good for me because I get more games. Not to mention, I am really big into Amazon right now and eBay and Letgo. So if I want to find a game for cheap, I can look at Letgo, eBay, or GameStop. And if I can't find it or it's too hard to find, then I could just go to Amazon. Compared to back then, I have a lot more different places to find games. They're a lot more accessible, and I'm actually getting more into JRPGs. When I first bought the Vita, I just wanted a new console. I didn't care about the games. But now I'm getting more into JRPGs and RPGs. I got Persona 5, Tales of Zestiria, Gravity Rush 2, like I said, The Legend of Heroes I'm getting more into. Also for the Vita, I got Persona 4, I got Freedom Wars again. I'm looking into getting Tales of Hearts R again. I've got this Monster Hunter ripoff, Ragnarok Odyssey. The only reason I got that game is because it's from the same developer that helps out with the Legend of Heroes series, Xseed. I even have this other game that I found, Exist Archive. I haven't actually tried it yet. I'm a little wary, but also because I've just been playing Freedom Wars and Persona 4 constantly. Those games are really fun. But I do have a list of like 10 other games that I'm looking into. So would I recommend a PS Vita in 2019? Honestly, no. Unless you're really into certain games. The PS Vita is a great console, but since then, Sony has actually stopped supporting it. There's not a lot of games coming out for it anymore. I don't think there's any games coming out for it. Support from the firmware side of things has actually stopped. There's not a lot of things you can do with this anymore. Yes, the store should still be up, but I mean, if you really want to, you can get it. I mean, I got it. I'm not saying that it's not for anyone. I'm saying it's not for everyone. I'm getting it because I really like JRPGs and RPGs, and compared to back when I first had it, I know what I want for it this time. I actually did a lot of research and made a list of 25 or so different games that I want for it. It is really fun to have a new console because I am a collector. Like I said, all of these consoles I now consider my own. I have all of the Nintendo consoles. I have an Xbox 360, technically. My brother's borrowing it. I have a PS4. I have a PSP and a PS Vita. I just need the PS1, 2, and 3. I had a PS2, but I sold it because my friend was asking for it, and I wanted to help her out. In the end, I am a collector, and I really love having new consoles. Not to mention, I love having new games accessible to me. And the PS Vita has some pretty good exclusives on it. For example, on my PS4, I have Gravity Rush 2. And I really wanted to get Gravity Rush, and the easiest way to do that is to get a PS Vita. I really love the Legend of Heroes series, and I kind of want to collect all of them. So I'm probably going to get them, get the first and second one for here as well, just because I can. I'm really enjoying having this PS Vita, but I would not recommend it to everyone. Am I addicted to games? Yeah. Is that a bad thing? No. I'm having fun with this. I can sell these if I want to, but I don't want to. I want to collect them and possibly pass them on to my kids when I have them. It's not like I'm making bad life choices or throwing my life away. I'm just a gamer. I like games. I really enjoy them, and I want to share them with people. And that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Jay Hikari, logging out.